Hey, I'm a Polo GTI driver and I'm here to review the Polo R Line and let's see what I see differently. Now, let's go. So my first impression that I've seen is that these grills are gloss black and they kind of look different from what you get on the Polo GTI, and also you don't get the red trim that goes across from the headlight, but you do also get the IQ lights here. I also like this R badging, which kind of confuses some people because they think this is a real R, which in terms it's actually a R line. So the R badging, you can see a R badging right here, and what the owner did as well, he added another R badging here at the back, as you can see. Then you get this dual exhaust tips to resemble the Golf R, but they're actually fake. As you can see, they're actually fake. And if you want to see the real exhaust, it's just right under here, which is just one exhaust exit, and at this side you don't get anything. When it comes to the body styling, you'll be surprised how similar these cars are compared to the AW Polo GTI. So first thing is this wing. So this wing is exactly the same found on the Polo GTI, as well as the side skirts that goes all the way to the front and till here is exactly the same found on the Polo GTI. The rims come at 17 inches while the Polo GTI comes on 18 inches as an upgradable. You might also be surprised that this car actually has advantages over the GTI. Let me show you the first advantage. Now the first advantage has to do with the spare wheel here. You get a full-size spare wheel, unlike the Polo GTI. And the reason why the Polo GTI doesn't get a full-size spare wheel is because on the Polo GTI, on the engine bay, there's not much space since it's a 2-liter TSI engine, while this one is a 1-liter. So that means you also get space for the battery to sit, while the GTI, the battery sits at the boot. Number two is, let me just get in here quickly. I just want to show you something why you would choose this over the GTI. So I'm just gonna switch on the cluster and let me just close the door because it's gonna start beeping like that. Okay, just wait for it. Let me go to car. Just have to wait for it to load for just a bit. Yeah, let's go with this. Since start, it's the fuel economy. The fuel economy on this car is super good. So this is the since start, the long term, and the since refuel. Mind you, on my since refuel, I get 2 liters more. Imagine, I get 2 liters more. So this car is very efficient compared to the Polo GTI. So people would prefer to get the Polo R Line over the Polo GTI because this is more fuel efficient. They just want something that looks good and that's more fuel efficient. When it comes to the infotainment system, it looks exactly the same. I think this is the exact same infotainment found, as well as the digital cluster. The digital cluster looks exactly the same as mine, but the only difference is it has red accents. Where it's blue, it's actually red, and it doesn't have the R Line logo that you can see over here. Another thing I like is this finish right here. It kind of only zoom in, it looks like paint, like real paint, like body paint, and I like how it feels like because it has this matte texture on it. Also, unlike the Polo GTI, on the R Line you can't select driving modes, so you don't have the driving mode selector here, while on the Polo GTI you do have. So that's another difference that I've noticed. You also don't get the traction control activation on and off system here. Another thing that I've noticed is that the R Line doesn't have an eco mode, which is funny because I would have thought that it would have at least eco mode than sports mode. But that's kind of interesting. Maybe that has to do with the 1-liter engine, which by itself is already efficient. So talking about the selection of drive modes, you can only select 3 driving modes. So let me go through this. So I'm going to put it on drive. So the first driving mode is this driving mode. Then you get the second when you flick the gear lever down and it'll put it on sports mode. Then the third driving mode is the manual mode. So the manual mode, you have to take it to the right, then it's gonna engage the manual mode. Then to shift, you can use either this pedal shifters that you find here, or you can use this by going up like this or down like that. And of course, this car will definitely pass the Berry index. Look how good this car looks like. Look how good this thing looks like. Especially the seats. The seats are one of my favorite. In this segment, there is nothing. You guys can quote me. There's nothing that looks as good, as refined as the Polo. That's why these cars sell out every year. Guys, I won't stop talking about these seats, but this microfiber cloth feels like Alcantara. This has to be my favorite finish on this car. The seats are my favorite, actually. And to think about it, they actually look better than the GTI seats. No cap. Now guys, let's get the elephant out of the room. So this car cost around this amount, right? Which in terms will also make you wonder, why would you take this car over a Polo GTI? Because this car, it has around 85 kilowatts of power and 200 Newton meters of torque, while the Polo GTI has 147 kilowatts and 320 Newton meters of torque. You then wonder why. Here's one reason why people choose the Polo R Line over the GTI. I also asked the owner, why did you take the Polo R Line over the GTI? The number one reason is that a GTI insurance is very expensive, especially a performance car. So he has his license for just a year, and the cost that he was getting for the Polo GTI was so crazy, even though this car and a second-hand Polo low mileage GTI cost almost the same price, but the insurance was gonna make it very unaffordable. And you know that number one insurance rule is that if you're younger than 25 years old and your license is still fairly new and you have a sports car, you're gonna pay a premium. Okay guys, so it's my first time driving on an R Line, and mind you, I drive a Polo GTI. So first thing that I really noticed about this car is the suspension. The suspension feels way softer than my Polo GTI. That's one thing I definitely noticed. And the secondly is the ride height. So this car is kinda a little bit higher than my Polo GTI, and I noticed it right away. Another thing is the gearbox. So one thing I noticed is it ends at gear number 7. So I think that's what builds the efficiency to this car, and that's another reason why it doesn't have an eco mode, because from the 1 liter it doesn't really need to have an eco mode. I mean, gear number 7, we can only wish to get it on the Polo GTI, but VW said it doesn't get the 7th gear because of the fuel and the climate of South Africa. All right, let's get to the engine and the performance of this car. For the day-to-day, for your average Joe, it's sufficient power. So let me try to put it on sport mode, and it does kick. It does kick, but you can't really compare it to like a Polo GTI because it's a different league. But this is an uphill, and you know, it still accelerates through an uphill. It's sufficient. It's good enough to get you through day-to-day commute. It's good enough. In this segment, brand new, this car is very refined. So VW has worked years and years for refinement on this car. So it's solid build, great drive quality, great drivetrain. It's a good car. VW themselves are claiming 5.7 liters to the 100, and currently, let me quickly show you, I'm averaging 6.9. So if you do your highway drives and easy on the pedal, I think you can get below that. This 1 liter engine is actually really efficient. So guys, I want you to comment down on the comment section, right? Would you buy this car, right? Or would you rather take a second-hand Polo GTI and deal with the very high premiums? And as well, the Polo GTI is more, I can say, targeted than this one, because the GTI is faster and the thieves like fast cars to use them as getaways. So they target the GTI more than the R Line. So what are you gonna take? And mind you guys, think you gotta think this with your pockets.